So I said it'd been a very heavy Boris week today, and now we're coming to at least a bit of a successor. But you may remember Boris's list of resignation honours. It's a big time-honoured tradition to give out. And you may remember there was a big hullabaloo because he wanted to give his dad a knighthood. And that clearly upset a lot of people. Whether or not his full 100 list is going to be sort of blocked or maybe even sort of shaved down, shall we say, to maybe get some people onto the list. It's a bit of sort of, I suppose, give and take. There'll probably be a lot of political wrangling, I think, going on. But the fact that obviously last week you had an attempt by Boris Johnson to march and rally his troops up to the top of the hill to plant their flags squarely on the Rebellion Hill, failed to even not only get halfway up the hill, but barely even start the march up the hill. It was a bit of a disaster all around, and has led many people to believe that not only is this now sort of the end, really, of Johnson's sort of power and hold he has over the parliamentary party, but also the fact that the ERG, it may be that while they may forever might remain as a bit of a power player in the sort of Conservative Party, the fact that you now have a myriad of different factions now within the party, another one will ultimately probably rise to take their place. It's very possible, but we're not talking about them today. We are, of course, talking about Boris Johnson's successor, not Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, the shortest-lived Prime Minister ever in British history, because she has now released her honours list, and if you thought Boris's list was going to be causing a bit of trouble, well, Liz's list looks like it's going to be causing a few headaches for Rishi Sunak as well. And he has been urged to block it, which, to be honest, I think he really should. So, before we go diving into sort of the reports about this, please do remember to click on that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And of course, the YouTube Pony Club link as well down below, and the YouTube thank you button as well. So, as always, thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel that way. So, on with today's show. This comes from The Guardian. Not The Guardian, The Independent, sorry. With the title of Rishi Sunak urged to block Liz Truss's reported resignation nominations. The former Prime Minister Liz Truss is reportedly nominating 4 close supporters for peerages as part of her resignation honours list, and has sparked outrage among opposition MPs. Truss's 49 days in Downing Street made her the shortest serving Prime Minister in British political history, having exited number 10 after her September mini-budget measures helped to send the value of the pound tumbling. And, of course, we should also point out, almost destroyed the pensions market. That's something else people forget. That's what sent the pound into an absolute nosedive. The fact that the pensions funds were like, if you don't help bail us out, we're going to be bankrupt in 24 hours. And that's what caused a big run on the pound. And of course, well, it's partly led to part of our current financial situation we now currently face in the UK. So, a bit more stuff for you there. So, but according to several reports, this has not stopped her from putting forward former aides and backers for seats in the House of Lords as part of the honours of a Prime Minister that can recommend following their resignation. Labour and the Liberal Democrats have called upon her successor, Rishi Sunak, to block the nominations. Deputy Labour leader Angela Rayner has called it a list of shame. Indeed, a list of shame indeed. Coming after she said that Miss Truss and her Conservative co-conspirators had taken a wrecking ball to the economy. And according to The Sun and the newspapers, former Vote Leave chief and executive Matthew Elliott and Conservative Party donor Jon Moynihan and long-term aide Ruth Porter and the think tank boss, Martin Littlewood, have all been recommended for peerages by the former Tory leader. And Martin Littlewood's even worse, because as you can say here, Mr. Littlewood is the director of the free market supporting think tank, the Institute for Economic Affairs, or the IEA. And it was the IEA who backed Truss to the hilt, who they lauded the mini budget. In fact, it was, from all reports, it was meant to be their brainchild. This was their big baby that they gave to her, said, here you go, here's a mini budget. This will save the UK economy. This will boost the UK economy so fantastically. It will do amazing things. But of course, it was all based on this free market economic nonsense and fundamentalism that, to be honest, many Tories are now questioning the wisdom of continuing to sort of think like that, which is kind of funny because this has really been a lot of underpinning of a lot of conservative economic thinking and sort of the background and sort of the base of many of their policies. So if they do really think that, then it's where do they go from there? It's going to be an interesting discussion. So the group that backed the disastrous mini budget unveiled by Miss Truss and their Chancellor Kersey Katang with Littlewood, according to The Guardian, was calling it a boost up budget. But upon her resignation, Mr. Littlewood said, I'm very sorry that the PM's efforts to move the UK into a pro-growth, low-tax, pro-enterprise direction has failed. She had a difficult hand to play, but she also played the hand badly. This is what I still find shocking, that a lot of people who support us and sort of want that view have tried to sort of spin it as she had a good hand, but she just played it wrongly. And it comes back to if you've ever sort of seen people who want like communism, when you sort of say, well, communism really hasn't worked, and they'll go, oh no, you don't understand. That's because we really have never tried true communism. There's always sort of some excuse as to why communism didn't work. This is the exact same way. Oh no, you don't understand this free market fundamentalism. It didn't work because, well, she had all the perfect plans, but unfortunately she just played it badly. But again, it's an attempt to try and re-justify this entire ideology that has failed time and time again. And it's not really that popular in the UK. I want to make that very clear. This libertarian free market fundamentalist ideology is not that popular in the UK. Even in the Conservative Party, that sort of has tried to incubate these ideas for years. So he has also served as the chief press spokesperson for the Lib Dems and reportedly was an Oxford University with Miss Truss. Miss Porter, who currently works for a lobbying firm, has helped spearhead Mrs. Truss' successful Tory leadership bid in the summer before briefly serving as a deputy chief of staff in number 10. The register of the MP's financial interest does show that Mr. Moynihan donated in 2 separate transactions more than £50,000 to help Truss's leadership campaign. Mr. Elliott, who was also campaigning for Brexit, was also involved in funding the Taxpayers Alliance group, which lobbies for lower taxes. Gee, the Taxpayers Alliance. We're going to have to do a video about them at some point. We really do. Mr. Rayner said that Liz Truss and her Conservative co-conspirators took a wrecking ball to the economy in a disastrous 6-week premiership that has left millions facing mortgage misery. But Rishi Sunak now looks set to allow her to hand out these obscene rewards for failure. If this Prime Minister was serious about the integrity that he promised, that he would point-blank refuse to rubber stamp Liz Truss's list of shame. Instead of proving these undeserved honours and lifetime golden goodbyes for his cheerleaders, he should be demanding a public apology she has refused to provide. Wendley Chamberlain, an MP for the Lib Dems and the Chief Whip, said that handing out more expensive gongs to Conservative allies is a truly remarkable way to reward the shortest tenure as a Prime Minister in British political history. Truss and her Conservative colleagues trashed their economy and left millions in misery. Those selected for honours are the very people who helped to plunge the country into chaos and crisis. Rishi Sunak must block these honours immediately, as allowing Truss to dish out these positions of influence shows a stunning lack of humility. And I agree. I completely agree. I think Rishi Sunak should absolutely block these honours, because I'll tell you now, if Boris Johnson has shown or just this week that his sort of power and influence in the party has waned, then I think Rishi Sunak being able to block Liz Truss's honours list, I think he's not going to get too much of a pushback. I really don't think he's going to get too much of a pushback at all. I think it will sail through very easily. And I think there'll be very, very little pushback. I think it's something he won't necessarily have to worry about because just as, shall we say, Boris Johnson's once bright, shining star of the Conservative Party, and even Liz Truss, once hailed as the new big up-and-comer of the party, well, look how disastrous her premiership went. But then again, if you look at Liz Truss's history, she certainly had a history of doing that. Yeah, I hope he does. I hope he does actually block it because that would be probably an interesting win. But if he doesn't, well, as Angela Rayner said, you set out your entire tenures about restoring trust in British politics, yet you allow Truss to hand out these golden goodbyes, these lifetime tickets now to the House of Lords that they'll now get to sit in and potentially even have say over future British economy sort of takes and policy. Why on earth would you ever allow them to have such power when it was their ideas and their backing of these ideas which led to such a disaster? So we'll see what happens. Will he block them? Will he not block them? Who knows? Like I say, Rishi Sunak, we know, is a very, very weak prime minister. Might blocking this cause trouble for him further down the line? Who knows? But it's certainly a risk that's probably worth taking because it will maybe win him some kudos. After all, he did promise to restore faith and trust in British politics. Maybe not go a long way to restoring that trust, but maybe he might win a bit. And to be honest, Rishi Sunak doing the right thing and blocking these resignation nominations would be a good thing, to be honest, in my book. But will he do it? We'll see. But as we said, I don't think Liz Truss and Boris Johnson have as much power in the party as they once had. I think last Wednesday sort of proves that with the whole Windsor Framework vote, but we'll see. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Like I say, please do click the like, share, and subscribe button down below if you're new to the channel. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, etc., etc. You know the drill by now. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.